My shift started like any other. 4 hours into scrubbing marble floors and polishing silver rails at the Lancaster Grand Hotel. My hands were raw, and the steam from the mop bucket had fogged my glasses. It was nearing midnight when I finally stepped outside the staff entrance, my breath curling in the icy December air. The snow was relentless that night. Flakes drifted like feathers, but they carried the bite of the wind behind them. I pulled my thrift store coat tighter and waited for the bus. But it was delayed. Again. That's when I saw him. Slumped against the alley wall, just beyond the loading dock, was a man. Not moving, not panhandling, just sitting there in the snow like he didn't care whether morning came or not. He was covered in layers of mismatched clothes, 2 jackets, frayed gloves, and a pair of sneakers held together by duct tape. His beard was thick and white like frost. But what got me was his eyes. They were open, and they were looking at me. I turned away at first. I knew better than to get involved. But something about his stare, it wasn't angry or desperate. It was tired, resigned, like he'd made peace with whatever this world had taken from him. I walked toward him before I even knew what I was doing. "You okay?" I asked, voice barely above the wind. He gave a faint nod. "Just cold." I hesitated, then shrugged off my coat. "Here, take this." His eyes widened slightly. "Number you'll freeze." "I've got layers," I lied, shivering in my uniform. "You need it more." He accepted it slowly, like it was something sacred. "Thank you." I turned to leave, but then he said, "What's your name?" "Maribel," I replied, brushing snow from my sleeves. "Yours? Just call me John." I didn't think I'd see him again. People like John, those lost in the shadows, had a way of disappearing between city blocks, swallowed whole by winter's indifference. But the next night, he was there again. Only this time, wrapped in my coat and sipping coffee from a styrofoam cup. "You came back," I said. "I stayed close, didn't want to waste the gift," he said with a faint smile. That night I brought him food from the hotel kitchen, day-old bread, soup in a paper container, even a few butter packets I smuggled in my pocket. I didn't ask for his story. I didn't need to. His silence told enough. 3 nights later, he wasn't there. I panicked, checked the alley, the street, even the overpass 2 blocks down. Nothing. But when I arrived at work the next morning, a crowd had gathered in the lobby. "Did you hear?" one of the bellboys whispered. "Some billionaire checked in last night, private suite, no press, total mystery." I didn't care. Not until I stepped into the service elevator heading to the 14th floor. I was assigned to the penthouse. First time ever. When I knocked, the door opened slowly, and there, in a cashmere robe, was John. Only, not John. He was clean-shaven, hair slicked back, his posture straightened, his face sharper. And behind him was a luxury suite I'd only seen in glossy magazines. "Maribel," he said, smiling gently. "Come in." I stood frozen. "What is this? Who are you?" He gestured to the table. A steaming cup of coffee waited. "Let me explain." I entered slowly, heart pounding. "I'm Jonathan Wells," he said, "CEO of Wells Global Enterprises." I nearly dropped the mop handle I was still gripping. The Jonathan Wells? As in, the airport, the tower, The same, he said, but I needed to disappear for a while. See the world without filters, without bodyguards or PR teams. I sank onto the edge of the velvet chair. "So the alley, the cold, was real," he said. "The pain, the hunger. But so was your kindness." I sat in stunned silence, hands shaking slightly as I tried to process everything. Jonathan leaned forward. "I've encountered hundreds of people in the last month, Maribel. Most averted their eyes. Others gave spare change and forgot my face within minutes. But you gave your only coat," I swallowed. "I didn't know who you were." "Exactly," he said. "That's why it mattered." He walked over to a sleek leather case on the table and opened it. Inside was a check. My name was already on it. $10,000. My jaw dropped. I can't take that. He smiled. It's already yours, but that's not all. He handed me a crisp envelope. Inside was an offer letter. Full scholarship to the Lancaster Culinary Institute, I read aloud. Tuition, materials, and room included. He nodded. I had my assistant do a background check. Hope you don't mind. You've applied to that school twice. Rejected for funding. I blinked hard. You're giving me a second chance. He shook his head. You earned it. Tears blurred my vision. Why me? Because you reminded me that humanity still exists in quiet corners. Because someday, someone will walk into a restaurant and taste your cooking, and maybe they'll be changed too. My hands trembled as I held the letter. I don't know what to say. He stood and extended a hand. Say you'll come back tomorrow, as my guest. Dinner on the rooftop. I hesitated. I'm a maid. He smiled. Not anymore. But this wasn't the end. Because as I left the room, letter pressed to my heart, I passed a man in the hallway wearing a black hoodie. He looked up briefly, and I recognized him. One of the hotel's board members. Only, he didn't know I had seen the security tapes the night before, and what I saw could unravel everything. Jonathan's company, his name, his trust in the people closest to him. Someone had followed him during his time on the streets, and they hadn't been offering help. They were digging for something much darker, and I was suddenly at the center of it all. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that man again, the one I'd passed outside Jonathan's suite. There was something about him, something off. The next morning I arrived early to clean the 10th floor, but instead I rode the service elevator straight back to the penthouse. I needed to talk to Jonathan. Something didn't sit right. He was already up, dressed sharply in navy slacks and a button-down, sipping espresso by the window. I saw someone last night, I blurted. Outside your door, he was watching your suite. Jonathan raised an eyebrow but didn't speak. I think he works for the hotel, I continued, or pretends to. I've seen him in staff areas, but I never see him cleaning. He always lingers, around the finance office. And now here. Jonathan walked over and set down his cup. Describe him. Mid-50s. Thin. Grey hair. Black hoodie over his uniform shirt. Sharp eyes like a hawk. Jonathan's expression hardened. Randall Marlowe. You know him? He nodded slowly. He's on my executive board. Was. He fought me on every philanthropic decision I made last year. Said kindness was bad business. He's been trying to push me out ever since I stepped back from day-to-day control. Why would he be here? I asked. Because he knows I've come back. And if he knows I'm handing over power to someone new, I froze. You mean me? Jonathan turned to me. I told you, Maribel, I'm not just repaying a debt. I'm rebuilding a company, and I need people who see beyond profit. I took a shaky breath. Then we need to find out what Randall's really doing here. Jonathan nodded. You're not just a maid anymore. You're the first person I trust. By noon, I was back in my uniform, playing the role I'd known for 3 years. Maid, invisible, unimportant. But this time, I had purpose. I took a detour from my usual cart route and passed the finance office. The hallway was empty, the lights flickered slightly overhead, and just as I expected, there he was, Randall Marlowe, inside. The door was slightly ajar. I knelt down to tie my shoe, letting my eyes scan the crack. He was speaking to someone, low and urgent. The girl saw the papers, he hissed. She's smarter than she looks. My blood turned to ice. I don't care what Wells thinks. If he names her in the will, we're finished. I want everything erased. Records, transfers, offshore accounts, burn it all. He paused, listening to whoever was on the other end of the phone. No, he doesn't suspect me yet, but if that maid shows up again, she won't leave so easily. I backed away quietly, heart thudding like a war drum. I needed proof, something concrete, something I could show Jonathan. The security room. It was 2 floors down behind the staff cafeteria. I'd seen it 100 times, always locked. But today the door was cracked open, likely left by a tech who stepped out for a smoke. I slipped inside. Rows of monitors buzzed faintly. I scanned footage until I found what I needed. Randall, entering the finance office late at night. Again and again. Swiping in with a master key, pulling documents, plugging in USB drives. I hit record on the console, saving the file to a fresh drive. Then I heard it. A creak. Someone was behind me. I turned and came face to face with Randall Marlowe. He didn't speak at first, just stood there, a slow grin spreading across his face like oil on water. "Well," he said calmly, "what a clever little maid you are." I gripped the USB in my fist. "I know what you're doing, and so will Mr. Wells." He chuckled. "You think he'll believe you over me? You think a girl with mop water on her shoes and soup stains on her sleeves can bring down someone like me?" "I think kindness terrifies you," I said, my voice rising, "and you know it's stronger than fear." He stepped closer, menacing now. "Give me the drive." "No. Give me the drive." I darted past him, barely, my shoulder grazing the door frame as I bolted out of the security room and sprinted down the hallway. My lungs burned, my legs felt like lead. But I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I slammed into the stairwell and ran 2 flights up. When I reached the penthouse, I burst through the door, breathless, shaking. Jonathan turned sharply. "What happened?" "He knows. Randall knows I have the footage. He tried to take it." I handed him the drive. Jonathan took it with both hands and exhaled. "You did it." Suddenly, the door opened behind me, and 3 men in suits entered. Not security, not hotel staff, federal agents. Jonathan gave me a reassuring look. "I called them last week. I had a feeling Randall wouldn't let this end quietly." He turned to the agents. "The footage is here. Randall Marlowe has been siphoning funds for years. Offshore laundering. Fraud. It's all on that drive, and she's the one who got it." One of the agents looked at me. "You've done something extraordinary, miss?" "Maribel," I said softly. Jonathan smiled. "Her name is Maribel, but soon the world will know her as more than that." I blinked back tears. For years I'd been ignored, stepped over, talked down to, but not anymore. Not after I gave a coat to a stranger who turned out to be more than just a man on the street. He was a test, and I had passed.